Can you look at us?
Shalom. I would like to give all honor, glory, and praises to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Rakakradash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sincere Akim, pushing this word across the four corners of the world. And just a quick news update through the spirit, the power, and the vibration of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. And as you just saw from the opening of this video, of a 115 Statue of Liberty replica within Brazil, it collapsed during a major storm. And what I take out of that through the spirit, that's a foreshadow of things to come to America, aka Babylon the Great, very soon. And that saying, a foreshadow of things to come, it refers to hints, symbols, omens, premonitions, and prophetic signs that something very unpleasant is soon about to take place, which is ultimately the judgment of YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHWASHI upon this sinful kingdom, America. And let's get right quick. 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter, within the GNT, the Good News translation, he answered, consider all these things very carefully. When you see that some of the signs I have told you about have appeared, you will know that the time has come when YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHWASHI will bring judgment on the world he has created. And this is how YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHWASHI is visiting the world. And like how I bring out from time to time through the spirit, the word visit doesn't always mean a warm welcoming. It can also go into to inflict or afflict severe vengeance, punishment, to cause great suffering or trouble to. And by this Statue of Liberty replica within Brazil collapsing, that is a heavy telltale, unpleasant sign on what's coming to the front doorsteps to America. In verse 3, it says, there will be earthquakes, national rebellions, international intrigues, unstable leaders, and confused rulers. When you see these things happening, you will know that or what YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHWASHI has spoken about since the beginning of creation. The beginning and the end of everything that happens in this world are clear. The same is true in the world above. Wonders and miracles show the beginning of events, and mighty signs show when they end. And on New Year's Eve of 2024, there were 3 national historical landmarks that got struck by lightning, all within the same night, which was the U.S. Capitol, the World Trade Center, and the Empire State Building. Like all 3 of these infrastructures got struck by lightning. And according to Luke 10:18, it says, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven, which means that YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHWASHI is about to do a quick work on bringing down Esau's rulership, and along with his main hub, America, again, Babylon the Great. And that's because the triumph of the wicked is short. And again, all of these global catastrophic events entails a foreshadow of things to come. Like YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHWASHI has a divine appointment of judgment upon America very soon. So going back to this Statue of Liberty replica within Brazil that toppled over, and I was looking into the meaning of the Statue of Liberty, which goes into liberty enlightening the world, because back in 1886, France dedicated the Statue of Liberty as a gift to America for the so-called abolishment of slavery, which was all BS. And all of this is very spiritual and further proving that America is indeed Babylon the Great, which has that allure and powerful influence upon these other nations. And that's because the Statue of Liberty also goes into a universal symbol of freedom and democracy. And all of this ties right back into the scriptures when you read about that Babylonian wine that has intoxicated the inhabitants of the earth. And that takes me to Revelation 17, verse 1, within the NLT, the New Living Translation. And from the heading, the Great Prostitute, which is a codified name for America, that well-favored harlot. And to back that up, let's get right quick. Nahum 3:1. Woe to the bloody city, referring to America. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departed not. And the prey represents you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans. the true biblical Israelites. And going back to that movie, Menace to Society, that came out in 1993, Sharif's father in the classroom told the main character, Cain, that the hunt is on and you are the prey, which ultimately means that we are that nation that's not desired unto these other heathen nations. We're not within their best interests. And that's mainly because the heads of these other nations know exactly who we are according to the Bible. It's just the vast majority of our people that don't know. So therefore, the further they have us subjugated, oppressed, and downtrodden, then the more abundant they will be concerning their resources. Like all of these nations are capitalizing off the blood, sweat, and tears of the true biblical Israelites because we built this city. So woe to the bloody city, it is all full of lies and robbery, the prey departed not. The noise of a whip and the noise of the rattling of the wheels and the prancing horses and of the jumping chariots, which goes into these modern vehicles. The horsemen lifted up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses. But here's the point, verse 4. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, referring to America, that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcrafts. And this is the American, aka Babylonian wine. And what are some of those toxic ingredients within that Babylonian wine? Westernization or Americanization, America's democracy, their science, their technology, their economics, education, language, their ideologies, their fashion and media. And going to their fashion and media, it's a city that's called Mumbai, which is the largest city in India, and they have a major cinema or film industry that's called Bollywood. And also within Nigeria, they have a main film and cinema industry that's called Nollywood with an N. And that shows you that's all memory Hollywood's global influence. And where is this satanic Hollywood or Hollyweird located at? Within America. Again, Babylon the Great. Furthermore, you have some of American notable figures that have replicas in these other countries. Like George Washington, he has a replica within Poland. Abraham Lincoln has a replica in Norway and also Cuba. Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson has a replica within France. Dwight Eisenhower has a replica within London. And the list goes on. And you also have these Statue of Liberty replicas within Denmark and also Austria. So therefore, it's not too far-fetched that America is indeed that well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcrafts. Again, that Babylonian wine, which is that wine of immorality. And let's get verses 5 to 6. And it says, Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord, YAHAWAH BAHASHAM Yahushua of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. And I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and will set thee as a gazing stock. Hence this 115 Statue of Liberty replica that tumbled over in Brazil during a major storm. And what is this replica of the Statue of Liberty mimicking? The Statue of Liberty within America, New York, the Empire State. And again, the Statue of Liberty supposed to represent the liberty enlightening the world, and also a universal symbol of freedom and democracy. And by the foreshadow of things to come, this is how YAHAWAH BAHASHAM Yahushua is bringing forth that shameful spearing upon America's glory. So again, back in Revelation 17 in the NLT, so the great prostitute, which again is that codified name for America, aka Babylon the Great, that has that negative impact or influence upon these other nations, because all of these other nations have drunk from that Babylonian cistern, and they have all assimilated to the American way, which is nothing but left-handed enchantments, enticements, or sorceries. So it says, one of the 7 angels who have poured out the 7 bowls, which goes into those 7 vials when you read the KJV version, and that means the severe divine judgments of the Most High. It spoke to me, come with me, he said, and I will show you the judgment that is going to come on the great prostitute who rules over many waters. And those waters within this text represents other nations or peoples. And to further prove that, let's get verse 15 within this same chapter. It says, "Then the angel said to me, the waters where the prostitute is ruling represent masses of people of every nation and language." And that goes into the melting pot of America, where you have these immigrants with diverse cultural backgrounds, values, ideas, religions, and the list goes on. And it's all blended into the American culture, which further explains why it's stated within Isaiah 24, how this is the city of confusion that's being broken down. And on a more spiritual aspect, America's like a conglomerate of all these ancient kingdoms, empires that once ruled, and it's all blended into one. And again, that's mass confusion. All right, so verse 2, "The kings of the world have committed adultery with her, and the people who belong to this world have been made drunk by the wine of her immorality. And Babylon has been a golden cup in the hand of YAHAWAH BAHASHAM Yahushai that has made all the nations drunk," meaning spiritually and morally intoxicating these other nations. And that's why it's stated within Deuteronomy 32 and 33, how their wine is the poison of dragons and the cruel venom of asp. And that's the vibration of this serpent, Esau Edom, the wicked. According to the book of Psalm 140 verse 3, it goes into how they have sharpened their tongues like a serpent, and adder's poison is under their lips. And that's why the tribe of Gad used to say how the so-called Caucasians, they speak with a forked tongue. Pursuant to the book of Psalm 144 verse 8, "Whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood." So with that being said, never trust thy enemy. In history of America, and just Esau's imprint as a whole has definitely proven that fact. So again, verse 2, "The kings of the world have committed adultery with her, and the people who belong to this world has been made drunk by the wine of her immorality." And that shows when you drink from that cistern that consists of that Babylonian wine, then you become carbon copies of Esau Edom. That same wicked vibration. And let's link that up with the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 14. "Enter not in the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men." In this sense, the ways of Esau Edom and these other nations as well, but the main culprit is definitely the tabernacle of Esau Edom. That's why I said it within Jeremiah 10, to learn not the way of the heathen. So again, enter not in the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. Verse 16, "For they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall." So these Edomites, and mainly the hierarchy of them, they cannot even properly function until they have done some type of wickedness upon the earth. And according to the book of Psalm 36, verses 3 to 4, it goes into how the words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. "And he have left off to be wise and to do good, and he devised mischief upon his bed." And that's when they are conjuring up these crafty devices within their secret councils. And here's the point in verse 17, "For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence," which goes right back to what we just read within Revelation, the 17th chapter, the wine of immorality, that Babylonian wine. And when these other nations lay in bed with this great whore or prostitute, America, and once you are seduced, you will become morally and spiritually defiled. All right, so back in Revelation 17, verse 3, "So the angel took me in the spirit into the wilderness. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that had 7 heads and 10 horns. And that woman represents America, that great whore or prostitute, and those 7 heads represents the Greeks, the Romans, the British, the Spanish, the French, Germania Major, and Germania Minor. And those 10 horns represents the nations of the EU, or the European Union. And America's on top of that beast and steering it. And that's because America's the hammer of the whole earth. So there I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that had 7 heads and 10 horns, and blasphemies against YAHAWAH BAHASHAM Yahushai were written all over it. In America is that great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where our Lord Yahawashi was crucified, which means that he was crossed out here. Via America's lies, witchcrafts, and sorceries, that prevented a lot of people, including us, of knowing the true image, the characteristics of what Yahawashi stood for. And we were all in gross darkness. And Esau Edom, along with its main hub of wickedness, America, they have a lot to answer for. And that's going to be by that appointed divine judgment of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. And that takes me to verse 4. The woman wore purple and scarlet clothing and beautiful jewelry made of gold and precious gems and pearls. In her hand she held a gold goblet full of obscenities and the impurities of her immorality. A mysterious name was written on her forehead: Babylon the Great, mother of all prostitutes and obscenities in the world. And only America fits this. And only America has that type of captivation upon these other nations. Like, for example, 9/11, which was an orchestrated event, it made the whole world stop and stare. It was globally televised, and everybody took heed. And let's close this out with Revelation 18, starting verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hole of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. And this all ties in with Isaiah the 34th chapter, when Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI has that sacrifice with Basra, which was the ancient capital of Edom. That's interchangeable with America in today's time. And it's going to be a great slaughter in the land of Idumea, again, which represents America. So this post-destruction of America, you're going to have the cormorant, the bitter, the raven, the owl, which will be the new permanent tenants in America very soon. Verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, going into that Babylonian wine, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, again referring to America, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. And that spiritual calling is only going to be designated to the elect of the nation of Israel, the ones who are received at THAWADAH, when you read the book of Ezekiel, the 9th chapter. And that mark symbolizes the exemption from judgment. Verse 5, for her sins, America, have reached unto heaven, and Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI have remembered her iniquities. And how is that? When you read the book of Proverbs, the 15th chapter, and the 3rd verse, it goes into how the eyes of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. And that represents Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI's aerial surveillance, the chariots of Israel, which are angels. And they are reporting the good and the bad that is transpiring within this earthly realm unto the throne of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. And of course, you cannot forget about the foot soldiers of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, which represents the true prophets of the Lord, who are sighing and crying for all the abominations to be done within the midst thereof. And that's how Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI are remembering her iniquities. And once you go into this word remember within the Greek, it goes into to be mindful of, to call or to remember, to keep in mind, or to hold in memory. And again, that's by our sighs and our cries. You best believe that Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI are hearing us. Verse 6, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. And what are the works of America? Hurtful works. America is guilty by touching the apple of the Most High's eyes, his chosen people. Which is why I stay within Baruch, miserable are her cities that afflicted you. So in the cup which she have filled to her double. Verse 7, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, who judgeth her. And we are witnessing nothing but divine signs that are hinting at America's great downfall. Again, from the lightning striking the Washington Monument, the U.S. Capitol, and also the Empire State Building. You have all these showcasings of the blood moons appearing. It's all types of global reports and appearances of the so-called UFO sightings. You know, this aerial phenomenon. Again, the chariots of Israel are the angels. And now this viral moment of this 115 Statue of Liberty replica that collapsed in Brazil, which all signifies a foreshadow of things to come, which again refers to symbols, hints, omens, prophetic signs, and premonitions that something very unpleasant is coming to the front doorsteps of America very soon. And that's a divine appointment of judgment from YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. So with that, hopefully you all was edified, you all stay strong, keep pushing forward. Shalom.